Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Comics Evolve, where we discuss all things around comics media culture with your hosts, Andy, Jarian, and Alex.
Welcome to Comics Evolve. Myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And we are welcoming Rob Bush today. How you doing, Rob? All right?
Hello there. Yes, good, thank you.
Excellent. That's all right. You're welcome. First time on the show.
It is, yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be good. Brought you on for a very specific reason as well. We brought you on to talk about Star Wars. You're our resident Star Wars expert. You got all the knowledge, got all the passion for Star Wars. So
do my best.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. So with no Alex today. Alex has had a little emergency. So all the best to Alex. It's always a shame when the three of us aren't together in it, Jarian. But we've got a great guest today, so hopefully we'll have some good conversation. Guys, if you're listening, as always, drop us a comment, say hello, just jump in on the conversation. We'll do our best to read out your comments and your thoughts as we go through today's show. Like we said, we've got Rob on today to help us talk and unpack some Star Wars stuff. So we've got the last sort of knock-ins of Mandalorian season 3, the last 3 episodes. We spoke about some other episodes a few weeks ago, so we've got the last 3 episodes of Mando to talk about. We've got all the new upcoming stuff. I know we kind of went through it the other week, but we didn't have a Rob on the show the other week to talk about his input. So we've got Ahsoka, we've got Skeleton Crew, we've got Bad Batch, we've got so much good stuff coming up that it would be a shame to not have a deeper dive into that stuff with somebody like Rob, with his knowledge and passion on the Star Wars front. So, I mean, I think let's just kick straight off and look at the last 3 episodes of Mando. I mean, if we go back to the Jack Black and Christopher Lloyd episode,
crazy.
It was, wasn't it? It was, and it was like every turn episode.
Having Jack Black in Star Wars, I mean, I love Jack Black, but it was just so jarring just to see him. I don't know. It was great though. I loved all the cameos, seeing, all the Clone Wars references to the B-1 battle droids. That was awesome. I mean, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I know what you mean with the cameos, especially Jack Black. I love Jack Black as well, but I was like,
you can't help yourself but thinking that's just Jack Black being Jack Black, which is great. Like,
I think Alex said it the other week. He was like, it's like Adam Sandler being in Star Wars. Like, we like Adam Sandler in like Happy Gilmore and all these other things that he's been in, Little Nicky and Mr. Deeds. But if he turned up in Star Wars, you'd be like, that's just Adam Sandler.
It's because he just plays himself, if you know what I mean. Like, over the top, just crazy, amazing. But I think it did work. It just took some getting used to for me, anyway.
Christopher Lloyd as well.
He was great. I did love the scene where it was revealed that he was the not the villain, but the antagonist of the episode. And just having that monologue about Count Dooku and the Separatist movement, it was just a cool callback, and I loved that. Absolutely loved it.
You know what? Talking about Count Dooku and the Separatist movement, because didn't Christopher Lloyd say something like he was like Dooku was right, or those lines? And so I know I mentioned to you a little while ago, Rob, and I know I said it on the show a couple of weeks ago that I watched Tales of the Jedi.
Brilliant show. Yeah,
how good is that show? But it goes as a deeper dive into Dooku's sort of why he turned.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I mean, it did highlight some of the flaws of both the Jedi and the Republic, and just it humanizes Dooku, I think, and makes him more of a compelling villain, I guess.
More relatable.
You get some reasoning behind it.
Yeah, because you didn't really see that in the prequel.
No,
movies, did you?
And it was nice to see his father-son relationship with Qui-Gon as well, which we'd heard about before, but we've never really seen it. So that was cool to see.
Yeah, because we never really got a chance to see anything of them two together, did we? In the live action sequel,
no,
that didn't happen. Yeah, no, that was really interesting. So, like you said, to get Christopher Lloyd talking about that and linking those pieces together.
It was those sort of deep cuts. You didn't, if you hadn't watched the Clone Wars and things like that before, it didn't matter. But watching all the Clone Wars and everything, and getting that sort of payoff, it just feels good. Do you know what I mean? Just
yeah.
It's nice when it just fits.
And that was going to be something else I was just about to say. There was that within Marvel, for example, we've got this universe that's been built in live action TV shows and things like this. With Star Wars, we've got animated, we've got games, we've got live action, we've got movies, we've got features, we've got TV shows, and they're all canon. Like everything's canon, everything exists. It's a brilliant job someone's done there to link all these things together. And not only that, but over 40 odd years.
Yeah, agreed. It's definitely good that they've given Lucasfilm a designated story team just to keep on track of everything, because otherwise it would just be
DC.
Yeah, to put it lightly. Yeah. It really does show that if you have a team working to create a cohesive story, it does make it feel more connected, and it does help just keep everything going smoothly.
For sure. And people that watch the show generally on a Sunday night will realise I quite often I'll have a beer with me. And the reason I've got this particular beer with me today, and the reason I'm really happy that we're talking about Star Wars today, is that today would have been my brother's 50th birthday. And my brother passed away just over 7 years ago. So it would have been his 50th birthday today. So I always have, this is what was his favourite beer, Stella Artois. So I always have a couple of his favourite drinks on his birthday. And Star Wars was something that brought us together, brought me and him together. I remember it was probably the first sort of adult activity that we sort of did together. We went out and we watched the when they re-released the originals in the movie theaters, and then the prequels, because I was about 18, 19 at the time. So I was sort of driving, and I said, I'll pick you up. And sort of we went together because he was a bit older than me. He was like 8 or 9 years older than me. And so it was one of the things that brought us together. And I think I mentioned on the group a couple of weeks ago, when he was in palliative care in the last week of his life, he sort of said, he wanted to have a movie night. And we watched Star Wars, like the first one, A New Hope. And it was brilliant. All the kids were running around, made lightsabers out of paper. And, they were only little, and they were running around the hospice. And the hospice people were brilliant. They just didn't care. And we wheeled him out, and he was in the lounge bit, and we had the movie on, and it was just brilliant. It was such a great memory.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
It was absolutely fantastic.
I mean, happy first of all, happy birthday to your brother.
Yes, cheers.
I mean that. Yeah, I don't have a drink with me, but cheers to him. But that just goes to show how Star Wars can just bring everyone together. It's just
absolutely
stories like that. Everyone's, every Star Wars fan has got a story like that, which is really nice, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's move on, because the Jack Black Christopher Lloyd episode was fun. However, that penultimate episode was real. That was so good. That was such a good episode of television. One of the best episodes of television I've seen for a long time.
I definitely think episode 7 was my favorite episode of this season. Paz Vizsla throughout the season, I've been loving him more and more. But just that final showdown, him taking out, he managed to take out all of the Beskar Mandalorians, and it was only when the Praetorians came in that finished him off. It's just,
yeah, my favorite scene there. Probably my favorite scene of Mando was that him basically saying, "I got this, and I'm going down. I'm taking everyone with me, and that way you guys can escape."
This is the way.
Yeah,
this is the way.
Yeah, such a great little line. 3 words. Superb.
A YouTuber that I watch picked up on this as well, and it, like, sometimes when they say "this is the way," it's sort of, it doesn't mean anything. It's sort of like they just say it like, "Oh, this is the way," and it's just some silly old rules. But then there's other times in the show where they say "this is the way," and it's like, yes, this is the way. This is the way of how Mandalorians should be, and that is like one of those moments, like if not the most
that's
pinnacle moment of what a Mandalorian should be and what the way is.
That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, there's been times where they say this is the way, and you're like, why are you saying that? It doesn't mean anything, but
it's like their agreement. It's like a nod.
Yeah, that's
that's it. It's just sort of like a shallow meaning, whereas you get the moments like that. Another moment I can think of is earlier in the season when Paz Vizsla is sort of saying, why should we help this child that we don't know? Because we're Mandalorian, because this is the way. That's it. So
exactly. Yeah, this is what we do. Yeah, this is the way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I loved about that episode is that I'm always really slow in like figuring things out. When things are being revealed. So my wife is like that. She's so sharp. She will predict things before they happen. I don't know how she does it. She's not even a fan of these franchises, really. She watches them because we all watch them. But she's so sharp. She'll go, yeah, such and such, or this is what happens. And then there's me going, huh? Sort of catching up.
That's it.
And we're in that episode, aren't we? And they're running through, and you're like, where? Like when they first get attacked by the Beskar troopers, and you're like, they're running through, and every time they run through another corridor, it kind of gets a little bit more like an Empire station.
Yeah, it's just like, bit by bit, and then all of a sudden you see the TIE interceptors hanging. You're like, oh no.
That's where they are.
They're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone's just put a comment.
Yeah, I saw someone say Paz basically threw his life away, committed the S word, and we couldn't understand why. And basically, I don't, the reason what he did is he's like, you know what? I can keep these people at bay. You guys can all get away. That way, my son, the rest of you all have a future, because right now we're between a rock and a hard place. And so basically, sacrifice the one to save the many is what pretty much happened in that scene.
I like to think that he saw the size of the hole that Bo-Katan cut out of the hole in the wall. And I was like, I'm not fitting in that.
Yeah.
To save me some dignity, this is the way.
It's like that Danny Glover Lethal Weapon. I'm too old for this stuff. I'm staying here.
It'd be like a comedy scene. Try and see him get through that hole. Just hitting his jetpack on the back of it.
That's it.
I tell you what's been really impressive, and we'll come on to the last episode in a moment. But what I've been really impressed with throughout this season in particular, and which we've only seen dribs and drabs of in the previous two seasons, and certainly not much of it before that at all in the whole Star Wars universe, is the almost like it's like fighter pilot dogfight style action when you're seeing them with their jetpacks flying. It's been absolutely incredibly well executed. When you're seeing, I watched Top Gun Maverick the other week, and it's like it's exciting and it's adrenaline filled, and
it's just the shots. When it's almost like they've got a GoPro attached to the helmet, and it just it brings you into the moment. It's really well done, especially compared to the jetpacks looked fine in the first season, looked good in the second season, and then they've just got it down to a T now. It looks perfect.
And on that note, when we see them in the last episode, there's a few moments in the last episode where that happens. When they just jump out of the big Star Cruiser in space and come down, you're like, wow, this is incredible. I didn't even realize I could do this.
Yeah.
It seemed like, though, we got the WandaVision kind of twist going on here with the Mandalorian, because the whole season, it kind of showed you with the spies piece, the New Republic, that it seemed like someone in the Mandalorian ranks was going to be another spy, turn their back. I thought it was going to be the Armorer, because she seemed shady all season, especially with her keeping the whole mythosaur with Bo-Katan, seeing that, and just the way she was acting, the way she was like, no, you can't go back to Mandalore. We can't do any of that kind of stuff, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. The way she was doing it, the way she was giving Din Djarin all kinds of grief for taking his helmet off, how the other ones don't follow the way they do it, but then, they take the creed in the waters, and then she has Bo-Katan take her helmet off and saying unite. I thought something was going to happen. Either when the armor went back up, she was going to sabotage them, or one of the people on that ship was going to sabotage them coming back up. But yeah, it was the whole WandaVision twist here. And then it kind of nothing happened. It built it up like something was going to happen, and then nothing happened.
I do agree. It's the fact that the episode previously, episode 7 was called The Spies, multiple, but we only got one at the very beginning. It did make you think, well, who else is the spy? And I think that might have been intentional to put doubt in your mind of like, who are we, can we trust everyone? But in the end of the day, yes, you can. I
saw your, I think me and you, Rob, feel a little bit similar about this last episode. We just don't quite know. I think they built up a lot of potential storylines that they could have almost done anything after that after that penultimate episode. And then as good as the last episode was, it was all very convenient, wasn't it? It was all sort of tied up in a lovely little bow.
It was, yeah.
And you kind of like, like I thought it was going to be a little bit more complex than that. Like it kind of really treated us like adults, did it?
No, that's it. It was very cliche, I think is the right word.
When it wasn't looking like it was going to be.
So many shows these days sort of want to subvert your expectations, so you're prepared for that, but it just didn't, which in a way, yes, it did subvert your expectations because it didn't give you any twists or anything. It was just straightforward. I certainly enjoyed the episode. Lots of great stuff, but you did expect someone to betray someone, another big death or something, maybe. Like, I know we got Moff Gideon,
but did he die? We didn't see it. We just saw the flames. Did he die? He had a jacked up Beskar suit on. I don't think it's so wrapped up like that did. I do think that Moff Gideon did die. However, I have seen people theorizing that was a clone. Yep.
And that the real Moff Gideon, still with the mustache, is out there somewhere.
I can see we've got a few comments up here at the moment. So we'll come to those in just 2 seconds, because we've got there's obviously a few things in regards to other projects and things which we'll come on to, and that might link quite nicely, and not just other projects in the future, but projects that have happened that have been linking. But Jarian, let's have a few comments here.
Yeah, first one is, hey fellas, good to see you, Rob. The next one, referring back to Paz Vizsla, was like, why didn't he retreat with the others? I can see why he did what he did. The Beskar troopers kept coming. I assume someone was like, okay, that's enough fodder. Send in the Pats. The blue dude is annoying me. If they'd run, the Beskar troopers would have kept coming. The next one, I believe that was all misdirection, a way to get people talking about it, commenting on it, and tuning in. The spies felt like a red herring. Yep, definitely did. On the Moff Gideon thing as well, was it the real Moff Gideon? Which it could have been a clone because they set the whole things up for clones. And the last one, the Mandalorian is good, and all I just wish they would go into a concept where they are done with it. So
I think that's where they're heading with this movie, isn't it? I think and that's something we'll talk about in a minute. So talking about how these link in these projects. First of all, at the beginning of the penultimate episode, we had the little meeting, didn't we, of Moff Gideon and the other Imperials.
I think they called it the Shadow Council, which I think is from the Aftermath books as well. So that was a nice callback, which I didn't pick up on, but I know a lot of other people did. So I think that's quite cool.
You had the obvious ones, which we'll come on to in a minute. But there was the guy there, Hux, who is apparently the father of Admiral. Is it Admiral or Colonel General Donald Gleason's character in the sequel trilogy? So he's supposed to be his father, isn't it? And that was apparently played by his brother.
Played by brothers, which I think that's a nice touch. That was good.
That was a nice touch. What else did they mention as well? I mean, I know they mentioned Thrawn, and we'll get onto that in a minute. But they mentioned
Thrawn. There was the mention of a necromancer. Project. Is that what they called it? Yeah, that's it. Which that could be a reference to the resurrection of Palpatine. However, in the Rise of Skywalker, no one seems, in the First Order, really seemed to know anything about Palpatine's return. So whether that is a link to that, I don't know, or if it's something else.
Right.
It's hard to say at the moment, but I do think we're going to find out either maybe in Ahsoka or later seasons in the Mandoverse.
Mandoverse.
But that will be interesting to see what that leads to, or if it leads to anything.
And obviously, we mentioned it a couple of times there. We had the big one about Grand Admiral Thrawn coming in. A character that people have been waiting to see in live action for a long time.
Yeah, he's going to be great. I did think it sort of made the way I saw it was the Imperial Council sort of, because they hadn't seen Thrawn, they sort of thought that he's not real. It's just they're just using it to keep everyone in line, in control. And I did think we were going to see Thrawn sort of come in and be like, "Oh, I'm here, I'm real," and sort of deal with Moff Gideon himself, which of course he didn't. But that's what I expected. I don't know, or even an end credit scene would have been pretty cool to see him. But
talking of end credit scenes, we didn't get one. Which was
no, yeah,
I was fast forwarding. I went, have I missed it? And I sort of rewound it back again. But yeah,
I mean, they could have they could have made a Thanos like moment there, you know, kind of like the final do it myself with the Thrawn.
Yeah,
with
the
Thrawn
I
type thing.
Yeah, that's what I expected would have happened. And so just tease Ahsoka, because obviously that's going to have Thrawn in it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and obviously, obviously that's where Thrawn's going to be popping up majorly in live action.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and he was a big player. They mentioned the title of that great book, Heir to the Empire, which was possibly one of the best Star Wars books.
I've not read it myself, but yeah, it's supposed to be really good and makes Thrawn so popular.
Yeah, it is a great book. It is a great book. I read them a number of years ago now, but yeah, great book. And obviously, he played a part in. Was he in Rebels or was he in Clone Wars or both?
He was in Rebels. He played the main antagonist for the 3rd and 4th seasons. And I do think that the Ahsoka show is going to, be a very strong continuation of that series.
Right.
You're getting a lot of the same characters like Ahsoka, Sabine. We've seen Zeb in The Mandalorian already, so he might pop back up. Hera, Chopper, it's everyone's there. We know Thrawn's going to be there. It's just missing Ezra. But
so I got a couple.
I don't think we are though. I think he'll turn up. I'm sure
he'll be there.
And everyone,
if Thrawn's there, Ezra's out there somewhere.
Exactly. My son wants to see Kanan as well, and even if it's just the flashbacks or whatever.
I would love a flashback to Kanan, or even just them mentioning Kanan. Yes. Something like that would be a nice touch.
I like to see Mace Windu pop back up too. That'd be kind of cool to see him just pop back up.
Old man Windu.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say in this sort of time period. I feel like that would be a bit too late in the game. But maybe earlier on, I think would be quite cool. Pre A New Hope, but after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I was hoping the flashback.
Angry.
The flashback with Grogu, he would have been the one to rescue Grogu and get Grogu. That would have been a hard time to do it right there.
Although I have to say that was great having Ahmad Best back in Star Wars. That I loved that. And as a character he played in the children's adventure TV show, that was just amazing for the actor, amazing for the audience, and I thought that was cool.
And he's great as well, wasn't he? As that character in that episode, that was brilliant. Really cool.
He was, and I do look forward to seeing more. And I wonder where we'll find out more of that story and whose ship that was, where they're going, how did Grogu end up with the pirates, whoever they were in the first season. That's. I look forward to sort of finding that out.
Some more chat stuff here to catch up on. The concept that he was talking about being done with before, the concept being since they can make an alternative timeline, make a show where they put Admiral Thrawn in it where he was not killed. As a character, he has a lot of story potential.
Yes, well, for sure.
He does.
Yes. Go ahead.
He is a risky villain to bring back because everyone's got so high expectations for him. And I do hope they live up to it, which I think they will. John and Dave are phenomenal. But they do have to be careful to get him right, or else I know a lot of diehard fans will... you know what Star fans are like.
And speaking of Dave Filoni, there was a report out today that he's writing all the episodes of Ahsoka. So... yeah.
Wants that to happen, but clearly.
Yeah. More from the chat here. To be fair, The Mandalorian has always ended each season without a cliffhanger, but it did wrap up quick and neat. I expected the Code W to show their true colors by the end of the season as a tease of what is in store for New Mandalore. Yep, exactly. The religious zealots, and nothing good has ever come from religious zealots being in control. Yeah, good point there. The next one, he's also a huge fan favorite and get them a lot of press with fans. Let's talk about more about Thrawn.
That's what Rob was just saying there, that they need to get this guy right.
And then he goes, even if they went with the clone element as his reason for existing, it would still work. So he could be a clone too. Maybe he's the first one before Palpatine.
Oh, what? Thrawn?
Yeah, maybe he could be the first clone outside of Moff Gideon's work.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a nice thought.
That's interesting.
And I'm real quick though. I'm kind of picking him off Gideon though. I'm kind of confused though, because where did Moff Gideon get all this knowledge of Beskar and the Mandalorian stuff? You know, was it from him and Bo-Katan and when they originally bombed Mandalore, her surrender, and then also too, how was he so jacked in that suit? Right, he was jacked in that Mandalore Beskar suit. So
I think
Beskar steroids.
It was mechanical.
Yeah, I think it was very mechanical.
You could hear it.
As for him having all of the knowledge on the Mandalorians, I think that sort of links back to him and his past in the ISB. Their whole role is knowing their enemy. So I think he probably specialized in knowing Mandalorians, and that's how I guess he knows everything. But that's just speculation.
He was like Iron Mando in that suit, and at one point I was like, what would be a good twist if he was like at one point the blacksmith, if he was like her foundling or something. That would have been the twist, and she would have been the last big spy that we find out about.
He reminded me at times of is it Zorg in Toy Story?
Yes.
Yeah.
Zerg.
The way he was walking and the horns on his thing and the visor.
Yeah.
It looked like Zerg, yeah. But yeah, he was pretty cool. But it's interesting to see what's going to happen with him, whether we're going to see any more of Esposito popping up. Like Rob said, maybe that was a clone. We've got a Nick Fury situation going on here, haven't we? If he dies, he's got 10 other people that
I do think it's very plausible that it was a clone and that he could be brought back in some form, but I don't think they should. I think we've seen enough of Moff Gideon.
Yeah.
He's sort of been that representation of the struggle for the Mandalorians and bringing, taking their home back. And they've done that now. They defeated Moff Gideon. I don't think they should bring him back just because of what he has represented in the past. Yeah.
No, I agree. It's kind of like they've done that. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they've already, they killed him off in the first season, locked him up in the second, and then again, he's now dead again. They need to stick with it, I think.
Yeah, how many times have you told this guy about just keep him coming? Oh, look, it's the same thing again. He's just back again.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
And I do think that is the same for a lot of Star Wars characters. You see a lot of characters come back from the dead, and while it's great, it's nice to see characters come back, but they shouldn't do it too often, or else death doesn't feel as impactful anymore.
Some more of the chat here with the clone angle. If it was there, was a small changes, it would make sense. This goes to my comment about the Beskar Mandalorian way. The Empire will always steer your culture and make it better for themselves, which is a great point.
Yeah,
they say that, don't they? In the
They
show,
do.
they said that in the show. They said about the Empire, just using people, and yeah, they did say that.
Yeah.
The Mandalorians are my favorite people, but I haven't seen some of the animated shows, so I decided to do a Star Wars timeline run to catch them all and get more familiar. We're looking forward to Ahsoka. That's a good one right there.
Nice. Yeah.
We're on about, I think we've watched about 10 episodes in of the Clone Wars. Rob put me onto a
nice. Yeah.
Clone Wars chronological order rewatch, and we're about 10 episodes in. But I really like we've already watched some episodes of season 3, and now we're back to season 1 again, and we've watched. Yeah, so it's quite interesting.
It does jump all over the place, sort of, and at least early on. Towards the end, it does sort of even out again. But I've just started rewatching it as well because I put you on to it and I thought, I'll watch another one.
I need to go through and watch that. I also need to watch Andor as well. And speaking of Andor,
Mm.
Andor is a good example of this. They weaponized the cries of alien children into a torture device.
Yeah, they did when they was torturing it. Yeah, that was awful.
That was, yeah.
That's
I wonder if I do wonder if that machine was linked to the one that they hooked Dr. Pershing up to as well. I wonder if that's sort of the same sort of thing. But,
yeah.
And then
very Imperial.
The last comment here, had a Moth just crushed the Darksaber so easily. I didn't care for that. Should have been a little harder to destroy, I thought. Yeah, that's a good point. You know, he had the Iron Mando suit, as I call it. Yeah, the way that Darksaber just got easily defeated was kind of a let down there.
Yeah, I would have assumed it was made of Beskar, but so I wouldn't have thought it should be that crushable. But and also I think, you know, he after he destroys it, he says Mandalorians are nothing without their trinket. I liked all of that, but it should have been Bo-Katan's choice to put away the Darksaber and lead without trinkets, as opposed to Moff Gideon making that choice for her.
Yeah. And the whole trinkets thing too. Look at Din Djarin, how he got back, right? He had no trinkets. He was disarmed, and basically, you know, with a little help of Grogu, Grogu Mech, he you know, he was able to get back. No, yes.
No.
So last comment here, Iron Mando, nice. Basically, he was. Moff Gideon was like Iron Mando.
He was.
So looking forward, we've got Ahsoka. I think we've spoken a little bit about that. Ahsoka looks badass. Like I love Rosario Dawson. I've always liked her as an actress. She's great. I thought she was great in Men in Black. I thought she was great in Daredevil and on the Netflix shows, you know, on Luke Cage and all of that. And I really enjoyed her as Ahsoka when she popped up last season. I'm really looking forward to her show. It looks great, colourful, you know, active. That's probably not the right word, but you know, it looks action packed. She's a great character. She's really, really visual, isn't she, as a character? You know, her race is really visual as a race.
Yeah,
you've got other, you know, Hera, another really visual sort of character. You know, the Twi'leks, is it Tweaks or
Twi'lek, I think is
Twi'lek. Yeah,
it's pretty different everywhere in the galaxy.
But yeah, they're really cool, really visual people. I'm hearing that Cad Bane wasn't really dead. You know, a great looking character, but lots of great looking characters that could come into this. And I think that's going to be a real visual feast. And if it's anything along the same lines as what we've seen from Ahsoka already, then I'm really looking forward to that show. But looking at the other projects that are coming out, especially the live action movie projects, we've got 3 movie projects. We kind of touched on one of them already. It looks like it's going to be like a Mando kind of
the events.
Movie.
Yeah, the Avengers level film, I guess. To compare it to Marvel, it does feel like that would be the Avengers team up. That'd be cool. Dave Filoni again. He's great, so I'm looking forward to that. What about Rey?
That was going to be my next one. I was going to say about the Rey one. Yeah, I mean I was surprised. I say I was surprised. I quite like Daisy Ridley.
I do. She is great.
Yeah, and I quite liked all the characters that we saw in those sequel trilogy. I'm just not sure they were given what they needed for us to adhere to them as characters. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
While you're thinking, I'll catch on the chat real quick. But yeah, there's news that they're in talks of bringing Finn back as well.
From what he said the other week, from what John Boyega said the other week, where he said he was glad to be done with Star Wars and just be a fan, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, but there's been talks this week about him coming back. So
yeah, exactly, and he wouldn't be the first actor that's ever said
misdirection.
You know, oh yeah, well, we just even an actor that says, "Yeah, I'm done. I don't want to do that anymore," and then all of a sudden they've changed their mind. Like, what a surprise!
Yeah,
people do that all the time.
2 more things real quick. Go ahead.
After you.
Okay, 2 more things real quick. Back on the whole. Let me go back to the first comment about the clone thing and Thrawn. On the flip side, if the Empire was never formed, there would have never been more death, or there would have been more death with all the wars being waged prior, along with securing safe trade galactic routes, and then the Empire was a borderline necessary evil, basically. So.
Yeah.
Kind of. That's like saying that's like saying Thanos was right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Necessary for our enjoyment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to what we were saying about Rey and the prequel sequel trilogies.
I do feel like it would be empty, or not empty, but something would be missing if Finn wasn't there.
Yeah.
Right.
I know they could explain it away, like, oh, he's off on such and such an adventure, but he needs to be there, I think. I think not in a big capacity, but
yes. Yeah, no, okay. Yeah, I'd take that. I think
cameo, yeah.
I'd quite like to see now that sort of Rey has got her. It'll be a little bit like, and so this is how I'm going to liken it. Her re-entry back into the Star Wars universe will be a little bit like the beginning of Return of the Jedi, when Luke walks into Jabba's palace, where you're like, all of a sudden now Luke is a Jedi Knight, and you hadn't seen that before. You know, you hadn't seen that confidence in Luke. He was always a scared little boy,
unsure of himself.
Yeah, he was unsure of himself. Then he walks into Jabba's palace, and he's like, you know, he's like got his arms crossed, doesn't he? And he's got his hood up, and he goes, "I'm Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight." And you know, and I think we could see Rey's interpretation of that, where she's back.
Yeah.
Not back, but she's now a Jedi Knight. She's a fully fledged Jedi. She knows who she is. She's in control. You know, she's a Jedi.
So, are we going to possibly see some parallels here to what Luke went through when he had his whole Jedi training temple that went awry with the Knights of with Ben Solo, the Knights of Ren, and the New Order? So, are we going to see some parallels there where she's going to train somebody and possibly they're going to turn on her, like Ben turned on Luke, or what's the threat going to be here in this movie? You think?
It shouldn't be Imperial, or if it is Imperials / First Order, it should only be like remnants again. It should be something new, fresh.
Agreed.
What it would be, I don't know. Or they might not even have like a big imposing empire to face. It might just be a dark side force user that's just causing havoc. You know. Yeah, it's hard to say, but I mean, I did think one of the students could bring Grogu into it, you know, a bit older.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about that as well. That could Grogu be in the Rey movie? Yeah, for sure.
Could New Mandalore be the threat in this one? Maybe something happens.
Interesting.
Like not Civil War, but you know.
Yeah. No,
what's like Captain America: Civil War? What side are you going to take, Mandalorians or Jedi?
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
That would be cool, yeah.
And the show could be stuck in the middle.
Yeah. So we've obviously got that end. That's the very latest, the very present of the Star Wars universe. You know, that's going to be the newest thing in the timeline that we see. And the other movie that they've spoken about goes the complete opposite direction and goes right back to the beginning, apparently. And he's looking at the first Force user.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, me too. Along with Acolyte as well, looking at stuff a long time ago. Looks really
I think it's a good idea to go into the past and explore what happened before and how, you know, what led to this time period. But sorry.
No, I say look at how Rogue One, right? They went back to explain, you know, right before A New Hope, you know, with Rogue One, and look how big that was and what that kicked off in the Star Wars universe. The project it did. So this is a very good idea to do that. And
I think this just proves that you can go forward and backwards in time within a universe and tell stories, and they can still be interesting and relevant and surprising and emotionally hard hitting and worth watching.
And it'll be good as well because it's going to give a different feel to Star Wars. Like I know, like things like Andor is given a different tone. This is going to be different in the sense that, you know, the galaxy won't be as advanced and things like that. It'll be nice to see a more sort of primitive version of what we've seen before. You know, we might not even have lightsabers, you know.
Yeah. Or we can see how they first fashioned lightsabers in this, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you might see like I know in Legends they started off with like swords made of kyber, and then sort of moved into lightsabers with cords and boxes attached to it. So they could sort of follow that sort of route. But yeah, interesting to see. So many possibilities.
Nice. This time idea and going back in time, I think it's really interesting because we hit, even if you go back to A New Hope, we hit this Star Wars universe in full flow with lore of Jedi. I know they didn't mention Sith until the prequel trilogy, sort of 30 years later, but the prequel trilogy, but still, this whole thing has been filled with pre-existing lore and ethos and history that we have that wasn't fleshed out a great deal until the animated stuff came about. Then it started getting really fleshed out. They started talking about kyber crystals and Sith and what happened at different times, and I think obviously with shows you can do that with small segments of information. You can just keep plugging away. Give us another little bit.
Just keep drip feeding, so you don't overload your audience. I think that is good. It just keeps expanding the lore, explains more. It is good.
Yeah. I watched the first 3 John Wick movies recently. I'd like to go and see the 4th. Probably will at some point in the cinema. But I know that they're bringing out 2 shows to do with that as well. Limited shows. You got the Ballerina, and you've got the Continental. But again, a movie in a universe that has got a really rich lore. They're talking about the markers and they're talking about the hotels where you can't do business here, and it's a really rich lore that we jump straight into, and it's nice to have that fleshed out. So we've got a little bit of information about where these things come from.
Yeah.
Some chat stuff here. Catching back up the chat. Back to Rey. She's the chosen one, isn't she? And I think in the last one we kind of got that she was the chosen one. And then back to Rey. Honestly, she does not deserve the title of Jedi Knight, considering how little she had to do to get it. It felt like everything she did was already too good at doing it.
Okay. I somewhat agree in terms of during the sequels, but I think the film is supposed to be set 15 years after, and by that point, I think she will have earned the title of Jedi Knight or Master.
Yeah.
And you got to think she's got Force Ghost Luke and Leia looking over her, sort of guiding her, and Yoda as well. Yep. She's got all of this knowledge from previous teachers. Obi-Wan, and there's another example.
All the
Anakin.
voices she heard, even Mace Windu's voice she heard in that moment in the movie.
And lots of other voices. And that was going to be my point. She's not only got those people looking over, it seems like she can access like all the Jedi. That's what she said at the end, isn't she? She said, I am the Jedi. I am all the Jedi thing. That was her point.
Yeah, which I think it's good that, she's got all this guidance. They're all there living within her almost, it'll be good.
It's like Neo and has the whole Matrix. She can do.
That's it. I do wonder if any of the other Jedis that she's teaching is going to have the same sort of ability, or it's just going to be her, or
that's a good question. The next comment about her, this is why so many people don't like the character. And then moving on to new threats, as far as that movie, do we think we'll see a new Sith duo? That's a good question.
I don't think we'll see any more Sith, at least not after Palpatine. I think, the Rise of Skywalker represented the end of all of that. However, we could see more dark side Force users of some capacity, maybe even a different sort of group of light side Force users that maybe don't see eye to eye with the Jedi. That would be quite interesting.
Those kids in the second movie where they went to the casino planet. Yeah, the Broom Boy. Yeah, I wonder if those kids or anything like that could be tied into this, because they'll be older at that point.
I think I could see that. Maybe being a Jedi, he could be a Jedi, or they could be Jedi, or
just
again make their own thing.
I like your idea that they're a different group, and maybe almost like almost maybe like an extremist group. An extremist group of light side Force users.
That could be interesting. Yeah,
like a purist group.
Mm.
You know, maybe
to a fault.
Yeah, they're going to be fighting her on the basis that she's a Palpatine.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Oh, yeah, that could come back to bite her. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They're like an extremist purist.
Yeah, they don't
group.
trust her. Yeah.
Yeah,
and she's got to prove that she is, a Skywalker, like she claims to be. Yeah, that could be interesting.
The last one here, I'd rather see the rebirth of a Sith and the classic rebirth of a legacy-style show or movie, because the balance of the Force was not shown to be back in a proper balance yet.
Yeah, they always talk about balance being in the Force.
Yeah.
You need those sort of baddies, the goodies and the baddies all the time, don't you? Otherwise it's not balanced. They're going to be balanced in the Force. It means someone's going to win. Basically.
It's almost like and you've all seen Glass, right? The final third of Unbreakable. So Sarah Paulson's character said, when one shows up, the opposite always shows up, right? So when there's an evil or good, vice versa, she tells them that. And that's the same thing here, right? So when we have Rey here, who's that other person that's going to be opposite of Rey to give that balance back in the movie? So we kind of like a mega bad person here who has all the access to all the Sith people possibly, that kind of thing. That would be interesting to see that.
Yeah, just go off the other end of the scale. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can access all of the stuff. But it's interesting to see where they take that movie. But yeah, I think that there's some good stuff on the horizon with Star Wars. I think the Star Wars world has just gone.
There is a lot coming. I do think Star Wars in general needs to take us just a. They don't need to go all guns blazing. They can just chill out a bit. Do you know what I mean? I'm looking forward to everything, but at the same time, I'm at a point. Maybe it's just because of the past few weeks has just been so overdosed to Star Wars that I'm just like, can I have a break? But yeah, I do feel like they could slow down just a bit.
They don't want to make the I'm going to call it a mistake, really, but do they want to go down the same route that Marvel went down in the last couple of years?
Too much content.
Yeah,
that's it. It's another example, just overloading. I
mean, I think that they could probably get away with that. Like, I mean, I love Star Wars, and you love Star Wars. We all love Star Wars. And for diehard fans, they could probably get away with it. But for the general public, would it be too much?
Yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah, if you're just a casual viewer, are you going to keep up with everything? Probably not. It does get quite a lot. Like, even as a fan, it's my biggest franchise. I watch it all the time. It does get overwhelming at times, especially when you also watch things like Marvel, DC. Add it all together. You've only got so much free time.
You're absolutely right. So, how many times does somebody say, "Oh, you should watch this," and you're like, "Yeah, I should," but I also need to wash and sleep,
work.
Yeah, I don't even include
got to pay for all this.
Family.
I just want my job to be watching this stuff.
Yeah.
There's a good comment here, and this kind of goes along with what you were saying about the purist faction of Jedi, of light side users. So the reason I brought up Rey being the chosen one was because she's supposed to finally bring balance. So I got to thinking, what would her last challenge before the balance has been attained? So I wondered about a new Sith duo or even warring Jedi factions. This goes back to your comment, Andy, about the purist because she's a Palpatine. How will other purist Jedi see her?
Yeah. The only real way to get balance is to just not have any of it.
Yeah.
It's to destroy the Force.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that was ooh.
What did I say? Destroy the Force. Maybe that's the only way to have balance. Is for nobody to have the Force. It's like it's one of those things. It's like this is a power that's too great for any one person to have. It's just it needs to go.
So what if she's the one trying to do that?
All that means is I'm thinking is that means Grogu's got to go.
Yeah,
but
what if,
I deny it.
So what if she's trying to do that in this film and everyone else is trying to stop her?
Oh yeah, there you go.
It's almost like Thanos destroying the Infinity Stones. Andy dropped it on us.
Yeah,
I used the stones to destroy the stone. I used the Force to destroy the Force.
Brilliant. I love that.
Oh,
It almost
brilliant.
killed
Yeah,
me.
that's good.
Maybe after all Ray's, last 15 years of her exploring the universe, exploring the Force, that's the thing that she lands on. She lands on the fact that the only way to have balance in the Force is for the Force to not exist, because someone is always going to exploit the Force. Now, whether that's the light side or the dark side, someone's going to exploit it. So if it's not there, nobody can exploit it. Hence, there will be balance.
Yeah.
Maybe there's another faction that's trying to stop her from doing it, or I don't know. That's could work, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to lean into the Force in some way like this. Excited.
Or could someone find their way back to stop her potentially? Remember, they mentioned the whole thing about Qui-Gon coming back. Yoda mentioned that to Obi-Wan about your old friend has found ways back. What if they bring Qui-Gon back to challenge her?
I've always quite liked to see more of Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
I
have a certain set of skills.
Yeah.
You know what? Just to digress quickly before we move on. Someone keeps leaving a lot of rubbish at the top of my road, and specifically a fast food chain's rubbish at the top of my road, which is really driving me insane. And I'm on the verge of camping out in my car just to watch who's doing it, so that I can go out and attack them. But then my wife said, "Why don't you leave a note?" So I thought I might leave a note and just put on the top of the note, "I've got a certain set of skills. If you keep leaving rubbish, I will find you."
Brilliant. Yeah.
Someone goes through your thing, Andy. Makes perfect sense, actually, for the whole thing about the whole dark side and destroying the Force. So there you go.
We will see. But yeah, I think as long as they don't overdo it, I think there's a bright time ahead for Star Wars for certain.
Agreed.
There's lots of good stuff on the horizon, lots of good animated stuff, lots of good live action stuff, whether that's TV, whether that's features. We're looking good. We're looking good.
So another comment here. Hear me out. What if Darth Sion came back?
I'm not sure who Darth Sion is. I don't know who that is. Do we know who that is?
I recognize the name. I can't put a face to it.
Darth Gorikon. Who is that? Expand on that if you can. Listen, I think we're gonna. Oh, well, here we go.
As a Sith, I think he could help balance out the Force and make a good enemy for the Jedi. So was he like one of the early Dark Force users? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. Not familiar with him, if I'm honest.
Hold on. He was the Sith who refused to die.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, could be interesting.
I'll have to look up that. I'll have to read about him.
Yeah, I'll have to look into him as well. Yeah, sounds like a good guy. Listen, I think we're gonna. Sounds like a good guy. I don't mean it like that. I mean a good character. Not a good guy, a good character. Jory laughed. Sounds like a good guy. Sounds like a stand-up fella. That's not what I meant. Look, I think we've analysed Star Wars quite a lot. I think we're gonna crack on into some general pop culture news. Rob, you're more than welcome to stay with us. I know you're a busy man. We're going to talk about some news stuff. Feel free to stay with us. Feel free if you want to at any time just bail out. We're going to talk about all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I can stay for a bit longer. Yeah, sure.
Lovely.
Last Star Wars comment. They're moving on. So Sith coming too. So if there's one, there's another. So
always.
Yep. And then okay. Final comment here. This is from Darth Gorikon. Yeah.
We want to move on.
I highly suggest looking into his lore later. It's nuts. So Darth Sion. So we're gonna look into that one. All right, moving on. News time. News time. No more Star Wars. Jonathan Majors has been dropped by his manager, Entertainment 360, as well as his publicist at the lead company. There's also been more alleged abuse victims cooperate with the DA's office. Now, there's also video of the victim in this whole scenario that she was partying and fine before after the alleged incident happened. So I don't know what's going on here. I'm not taking sides. I'm just reporting the news.
I think that as we've been saying the last couple of days, I think at this stage it's difficult to comment when there's no hard and fast facts out there, and I'm sure when they are there we will have a long in-depth conversation about that. I know Alex is keen to discuss that as well, so let's just all hope that. I think, Jarian, you said it last week, that at the center of this, there's human beings that, on all sides that have been affected and will be affected moving forward. So let's just be respectful of that. So as and when the time comes, we'll discuss that one.
Yep. And as far as the question here, where is this and what is the context? This is in the context of the allegations towards Jonathan Majors, who plays Kang in the MCU, and the domestic dispute. Next comment here, we've all seen the end result go both ways, so it's best to wait. Wise words there. I don't get into that part of the internet much if I can avoid it. Yep, don't worry about it. The main thing here is that the last two things on this, we'll move on, is that he's still attached to the Kang Dynasty right now, and he's poised to receive $20 million, including back-end compensation for his role. He's also still on board for Loki season 2. If anything does happen, because production of the Kang Dynasty does not start until next year. So if anything does happen and him and Marvel part ways, I believe it's going to be too late in production for Loki season 2. But that change would happen in the Kang Dynasty. Disney is looking over the situation and has time to move deliberately before production starts next spring of the Kang Dynasty. If it does indeed start in spring of next year, it would put on track to keep May 2nd, 2025 release date. So,
okay.
Victoria Alonso news. So she was the exec that was let go for allegedly breaking the terms of her contract. They have settled with her over her firing. The details are confidential, but reportedly it's a multi-million-dollar compensation.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, she obviously had a lot to say about that. I mean, what exactly she was let go for in the end is up for argument. But
there's all kinds of things swirling about. Was it the VFX stuff because she's been the past couple of years in VFX? Was it the breach of contract? So
there's so much money going. Sorry,
is she the Marvel?
Yep. Yeah, she was a VP for a long time. Produced a lot of the movies along with Kevin Feige, and then the last few years she was head of VFX. So
much money going about, though, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you just said about Jonathan Majors earning £20 million for his thing, and apparently they're not talking about VFX. They're not paying their VFX artists enough to get through their work.
It's showing. They've been overworked.
Yeah, for sure.
Some non-drama news. CinemaCon is this week. The Marvel panel is on April 26th. So that is on Wednesday this week. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'm sure we'll discuss any and all announcements in next week's stream.
Yeah, I feel like we're expecting some news as well. We haven't had any sort of news for a little while, have we? And I'm expecting some announcements.
Could this be the Fantastic Four news, which is I'm going into next?
We've been waiting for this Fantastic Four news for about 2 years.
Could we get some?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Could we get some kind of casting news for Fantastic Four? Because there are rumors going around that Adam Driver is in final talks to play the role of Reed Richards. Which, if it's not the maker, I don't want it. Honestly, I don't know.
I quite like him. I
like him.
If it's the maker, I could see it.
I could see Adam Driver being a good Doctor Doom.
Yes,
yeah, we said that. Yeah, Jarian said that. Yeah,
but Jason Cutter had a good comment about it and about him. I gotta find his comment about the role he could play. It was a villain role.
While you're finding it, Alex,
I found it right here. Annihilus. What if Driver was cast for Annihilus? The kind of dark and whiny voice and intel attitude he uses for Kylo Ren would fit that perfectly. That's from Jason Cutter.
Yeah.
So
okay. I can see Driver being able to play that arrogant sort of scientist, who always thinks he's right.
Yeah.
And will kind of overlook everybody and everything to just carry on doing what he thinks is the right thing to do. Yeah, I can see him playing it. I really can. I think he'll do a good job. And going on to the Maker thing, I think we said a little while ago, didn't we, that we'd love to see Reed be the villain and the hero of the movie. And it makes perfect sense bringing the Maker in at this point in time with Secret Wars on the horizon and this variant thing. You know, having his villain for regular fans, for casual fans, to have the Maker with the mask on so that you can't see that he's driver underneath it. And I think that would be a great little story and a great reveal.
From the comments here, give him a long mustache and make driver El Diablo. Another comment here, I like him also. I prefer him as Doom myself, although that's not my first choice for Doom. He can pull either role off. Reed is really hard to cast. I agree. Reed's are hard.
Could they not go with the actor they had in Doctor Strange? I can't remember his name.
Oh, John Krasinski? No, don't do that.
No.
Move on. You did your fan service. Move on.
That whole thing was done just based on the fact that fans really, really wanted it to happen. Like, we really want this guy, and it was total fan service. That, I mean, props to Marvel for actually making that happen in the end. Like, that literally came from nowhere, other than fans saying we want him to do.
Yeah.
Even like, was it Hickman that drew him?
Yep.
Well,
later series.
Hickman didn't draw him, obviously, but it was in one of Hickman's stories.
Yeah.
Was it in?
It's in like one of the more recent runs. It's kind of similar to with Samuel L. Jackson and Ultimates and that kind of stuff. For Nick Fury, it's similar.
As John Krasinski, it was ridiculous.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, literally, it was him. It was John Krasinski as Reed Richards in this.
That's
comic.
crazy.
And then,
and then they done it. Wow.
But there's also a rumored. Oh, go ahead. Before I go to the next one, go ahead, Rob.
I was just kidding. I quite enjoyed him as the character. I wouldn't mind seeing him come back.
Henry Cavill for Reed and Call It a Day. I could see him as Doom even too.
Yeah,
Henry Cavill as Doom.
I could see him as Doom. I think he'd be absolutely fantastic Doom.
Henry Cavill needs to come into the MCU somehow. He's just so. Yeah, he'd be great.
Yeah, I think Doom would be great. If you look at his role that he played in the Mission Impossible, was it Rogue Nation? And he played that suave, confident, smartly, sharply dressed bad guy. I think he'd be really good at Doom. I think he'd be great.
Another one here. I kind of like to see Patrick Waterburn role in a hero or villain role of some sort. Now, he's the one that was in Aquaman, right? Was that Patrick Waterburn?
No,
the wrong person.
Yeah, you are thinking of the wrong person. That's the guy who played the antagonist in Aquaman. Yeah, that's Patrick. His name's Patrick. I can't remember what his name is.
Okay, that's the same guy. Okay. I think he might be able to do less like hero or goofy villain roles. So I can look at who Patrick Waterburn is. Then I'm going blank here on who he is.
I'm gonna kick myself when I see. Patrick Wilson is the guy in Aquaman.
Okay.
And he plays.
Is he the one that plays his brother?
Yes, his half brother.
Yeah, he's half brother. Yeah.
Yes.
He's Patrick Wilson is also in Watch.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know Patrick Waterburn is. Yeah, he was the owl.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, I know who this guy is. He's an iconic voice. Patrick Waterburn. I know exactly who he is. He's done a lot of animated stuff. He has a couple different shows he was in.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Rules of Engagement was a show he was in as himself, but he does a lot of voice acting.
Right. Okay.
He was in Ted 2 as well. Yes, he was in Ted 2.
I know it is.
Oh, I've seen Ted 2.
It's Joe from Family Guy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Face.
Wait, who are they saying cast him as?
He's
just a villain.
A villain or a goofy hero.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Bring him in.
Just a villain. Just Joe. Just Joe from Family Guy.
Just Joe.
Bring it back to Star Wars in the Star Wars Family Guy rip-offs. He was the droid with the broken legs. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
You know what?
That's brilliant.
We're talking Fantastic Four, and we're talking Patrick Waterburn. What if he was Puppet Master, or even Mole Man?
Okay. Yeah,
or even Mole Man. Yeah,
Mole Man. That would be brilliant.
Yeah,
Mole Man. Yes.
Some more rumors about the castings. There is a rumored Sue Storm shortlist. Vanessa Kirby is the rumored frontrunner, with the rest of that list including Allison Williams, Jodie Comer, and Mila Kunis. Now, Mila Kunis did meet with Shackman recently as well, and there's been a lot of chatter about Kunis in this film.
I like her, but I really want Sue to be honest, I really want actually the Fantastic Four to be very sort of fairly comic accurate in their visuals, in their looks. And could she do a blonde? Like, she's a pretty girl, but can she do I don't know. She's kind of, I don't know. Could she do a blonde look?
Well, they make her blonde though, because look at the second remake, right? The one with Kate Mara. She wasn't blonde.
No, I know, but that's why I kind of didn't. Like I said, I'm all up for changing the looks of people. I don't think that is always necessary, but I'd quite like to see a fairly sort of accurate, comic respectful, source respectful. Let's use that word, source respectful. Fantastic Four, and I think if they're going to cast Driver as Reed, I think that having that sort of I don't know. I like Jodie Comer. I think she's great.
Yeah, so something to keep an eye on. So maybe CinemaCon this week we'll get something official or some kind of hint. But yeah, there's no talk about Johnny or the Thing at all yet. So
I just want to see Chris Evans.
Bring Chris Evans back. Here's a chat here. So I guess he agrees with me about Mole Man or Puppet Master for Waterburn. I'm the same. I think for once, it'd be nice for them to stay comic accurate. Yep.
This one is important.
Yeah, and then for Doom, I like Henry Cavill. Name is escaping me, but Moff Gideon. Oh, Giancarlo Esposito something. Yeah. Cillian Murphy, Mila Kunis is Ukrainian. I like her. I like her in the MCU, but Blonde might be tough. So, and there's always that talk about Giancarlo Esposito being Professor X possibly, and he said he wanted to play that role. He's also, I think, Magneto. He's been tied to that one too as well. Cillian Murphy would be a good one, but I could see Cillian Murphy more as a Doom type role possibly. Yeah, not a Reed role.
Cillian Murphy opposite Adam Driver as Doom.
Yes, that'd be really good.
I'd go with that definitely.
Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Lawrence Fishburne, who does voice the Beyonder, will also be voicing Bill Foster, who he plays in the Ant-Man series of movies. But Kobe Smulders will also be showing up Maria Hill as well. So interesting to see how Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur ties into the greater MCU, since they're pulling these characters and voicing the same ones. S.H.I.E.L.D. has been name dropped numerous times in the show, with Moon Girl leaving villains behind for S.H.I.E.L.D. to pick up. But this was the first time the organization had made its on-screen appearance in the cartoon with Maria Hill in it. Also, Sam Wilson's Captain America made a faceless appearance to apprehend a Thieves Guild member for stealing Avengers equipment. So the one thing is that could there be more ties for this show? During the San Diego Comic-Con 2022 panel, it was said Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur would be complementary to the MCU, and that viewers may be able to spot some Easter eggs in the series. So that's very interesting.
That's good. And that's like what we were talking about the Star Wars stuff, wasn't it? How they've canonized the animated stuff and brought that. I think in Star Wars, obviously, not only have they canonized it, it's actually really, really important. Like what Rob was saying, the fact that the Ahsoka show is going to draw heavily from Rebels and almost follow on from that. And so it's super important. But you can also have things like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur that is still canon. It still works.
I think it's good as well, because animation just allows you to do more. I think just lets you do things that you wouldn't be able to do in live action as well.
Have a dinosaur in it.
I mean, they could do it. Look, Jurassic Park. Look how real that was, right? They could bring Devil Dinosaur over, and I would love to see Moon Girl come over to live screen, in some role. But the thing is, they probably have to make her a mutant, as they did with Kamala Khan, because again, there's no Inhumans in the MCU who Lunella is Inhuman.
But great stuff. Love it. Brilliant.
Yeah. The destruction of Xandar, right? So Jim Starlin reveals that the Avengers Infinity War almost had a 45-minute opening, which would have shown Thanos decimate the forces of Xandar to retrieve the Power Stone. Starlin says the scene is unfinished and was cut to save time and money and money on effects. Now, if they do a proper Nova project, right, they could totally use this footage for a Nova project.
Yeah, just get some flashbacks or something. Even
Yeah,
totally
would be good.
I think that would be great. I quite like the fact that he turned up and he'd already got it.
Yep.
I think it gave instantly, in seconds, gave him that fear factor. You were like,
just means he's already a threat. You're like,
yeah, exactly. We don't have to wait.
He's got stone.
Yeah, exactly. We're not waiting for it to be a threat. He is a threat right now. You know.
Yeah.
Back to the chat here. Oh, go ahead, real quick, Rob.
I was just at the same time, having missed the destruction of Xandar, we spent a fair bit of time there in previous films. It was a little bit disappointing, so I wouldn't mind seeing that happen as well.
Yeah.
But
them building bits and pieces of that, like showing like the final destruction of it, and then seeing Nova get the powers or how Nova gets away. Whoever is the remaining Nova Corps person, whether it's John C. Reilly's character or somebody else, and transfer that power to someone to become Nova. And then have flashbacks, like the person becomes Nova, then has like flashbacks of the destruction throughout the show or series. So, back to the chat here though. Simon Pegg can make a good side character to bounce off a good villain in a role to balance some more high energy actors. His personality would work well for it. He could be Doom's assistant, honestly.
Yeah, I love Simon Pegg. He's funny. He's that type of character that you want just to bring that bit of comedy to a serious story, and I think he'd contrast well with Doom. Definitely.
I remember way back when, years and years ago now, when Edgar Wright was originally being touted to make the Ant-Man movie. Simon Pegg was rumored to be involved in that at the time.
I wonder if he would have been Scott Lang.
I don't know whether Scott Lang or Hank Pym. I'm not sure. This was
he could have been a good Scott, I think.
Yeah.
We're talking 15 years ago.
Just think if he was Darren Cross and then he was the MODOK in Quantumania, that would have worked pretty well.
Yeah.
Agatha Coven of Chaos. Pat Lupon has confirmed she is playing a 450-year-old witch, Lila Calderu, whose power is divination and whose trial is a tarot in Agatha Covenant of Chaos. She says, I researched her. She's hot. She's really hot. She's got a great body, raven hair. Patty Rapone also reveals that Jake Locke's character will serve as the familiar to the series Coven of Witches. Zashir Zamata will reportedly be playing Jennifer Kale in the series as well.
Right. Okay.
So
interesting.
And there's
going to be
Go ahead.
I was going to say it's going to be an interesting series for your for all of that side of the MCU. The magic and that kind of stuff, introducing us to new characters that we might not have been exposed to before.
Yeah, and there's some chatter too about Aubrey Plaza. Could she be Mephisto? Could she be another version of Mephisto? There was some chatter this week that she possibly is an FBI agent. So who knows? We'll see what happens. Moon Knight news. Marvel Comics are adapting another MC original character. So the Scarlet Scarab and Moon Knight in the series, that's being adapted into the comics now. There's actually a new series coming out where she is on the cover. And they are adapting that, similar to Harley and Iron Man 3. They're doing the same thing with her from Moon Knight.
Yeah, so obviously characters making their way forward and backwards. Good.
That's good. Yeah, nice. I like that.
Spider-Man news. So Spider-Man is now partially available on Disney Plus. So you can get all three of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies on Disney Plus. The Amazing Spider-Man, which is the first one of the Andrew Garfield series, is available. Spider-Man Homecoming, the first one of Tom Holland, and Venom is on there as well. So no Far From Home, no Way Home, no Amazing Spider-Man 2 yet.
Looks like Sony are starting to play ball.
It's good. It is good. Just having that one spot. I haven't seen Let There Be Carnage yet, though. Because I've got nothing to watch on. So if it came on Disney Plus, that'd be great.
you're not missing much.
No,
No. Still want to watch it.
Yeah. Speaking of Venom, Venom 3 news, Ted Lasso star Juno Temple lands a lead role. The role is under wraps. Now, if you don't know who she is, she's the mean guy's girlfriend in Ted Lasso. So that's her. My thoughts is, could she be playing Felicia Hardy / Black Cat? There's been teased in the Venomverse about her. I know on the Morbius in the newspaper there was a tease of her, and I think there was something mentioned in Venom as well. She could be a new love interest for Eddie Brock too. Also, is another thing I thought about. My other thought was this will be interesting. Patricia Robertson, Scream, she Venom.
Scream, yeah,
yeah. Because remember they set up Toxin at the end of. I'm sorry, Rob.
Fine. Go ahead.
All right. But they did set up another Venom character at the end of Venom, whether it be Carnage. Surprise. So could Eddie need an ally, another Venom ally, instead of always being on his own, with regular people? So it'd be good to see if she was Scream / she Venom, because he would have a like possibly a love interest and a partner.
Yeah.
Let me see from the chat here. I kind of wish Marvel, a good Marvel movie would take Pyro and cross his old outfit with some modern style and put him in a movie in that of a style made of a new X-Men movie. Maybe like Andy has said in the past, do it from his perspective of things, because Pyro is usually the villain, in the X-Men stuff. So
you know what I thought about the other day? I was talking about that. That two movies, one from Venom and Spider-Man are the perfect sort of people to talk about. One movie is Venom's perspective, the other movie is Spider-Man's perspective. But I thought, how great and unique would it be if they did a story that was Venom versus Spider-Man, but they also did Spider-Man versus Venom. They released both movies at the same time and into the cinema, and you could decide which one you went and watched in what order. So you could go and watch Venom versus Spider-Man, and it told you the story from Venom's perspective. And then you could go and watch the movie Spider-Man versus Venom, and it told you the story from Spider-Man's perspective. But it'd have to take some clever writing, but I'm sure there's people.
It would. That would be a cool concept, though. I'd love to see that.
They could also do, because we've seen 2.5, 3 hour movies, not uncommon, right? So if you put them both in the same movie and then have, say, one perspective, and then you kind of like rewind it and then see it from the same perspective, or their perspective in the same movie. So you have one movie, but it's a longer movie. I would do that too as well.
Yeah. So. And there's far cleverer people out there than me that write movies, and I just think that would be a really great way to kind of, it'd be really unique, wouldn't it? Like you could have people go to the cinema at the same time. That if they did 2 different movies, you could have people going to the cinema at the same time to watch the same story, but from 2 different points of view, and they come out and they can talk about the movie, and then you've got half of the people going, well, no, this is what happened. Then you got the other half of the people going, no, this is what happened. And you're like, no, that's because you watched it from that perspective. And we watched it from this perspective. You go and watch it from the perspective that we just watched it from, and you might have a different opinion. And then it complete the story until you've watched the other movie. I just think that like really unique and really cool. Something different, totally different. That's not
yeah. And I like the idea of choosing which one you watch first. It might change how you feel about it in general.
Exactly. I watched This Is Real Life, so this is no joking matter. I watched a documentary a little while ago on a Sky Crime TV channel, and it was about a young lad who committed suicide, sadly, in the States. And his girlfriend, who he'd only met once, and they had like a long distance relationship, was arrested for like manslaughter because she apparently coerced him into committing suicide. Now, there was three parts. So there's 2 or 3 parts to this show. The first part made it out. If you only watch the first part, you're sitting there thinking, wow, this girl, what a horrible person. She's coerced him into committing suicide. She's awful, blah, 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 blah. What a horrible person. What a poor lad. When you then watch the next part, you then see all the things that she was going through. And she was going through a really, really tough time as well. And she had a lot of her own problems. And, there was obviously elements in there that she had coerced him to do things, but he wasn't completely innocent of doing things either. And it was only when you then flip the story and see the story from the other side that you start seeing a bigger picture, and you start thinking, actually, this is more complicated than what I originally thought.
Yeah, it's not black and white. It's grey.
Usually in the middle. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And I think it'd be interesting to see a story, and I think Venom and Spider-Man is the perfect time to do that, because you know you've got good and bad, but are they good and bad? You know, like we know that Venom is good. I mean, in the comics, he's basically a good guy now. You know, so yeah, just an interesting something different.
Well, the chat agrees with you because someone goes, "What an awesome idea! I'm in." So
sign me up, Marvel.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Don't
Um. Oh, back to Venom 3. Reportedly, Owen Wilson is also in talks to star alongside Tom Hardy in Venom 3. So,
as another character?
Yeah, that's.
I don't know if he's gonna be Mobius or if he's gonna be somebody else.
Yeah,
I don't think wouldn't Mobius make sense?
Because I don't think
That'd
Venom's
be
done
interesting.
anything. Yeah, I don't think Venom has done anything yet to do anything with the TVA, other than him crossing over at the. Well, you saw No Way Home, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, other than him crossing over to the MCU is, that could have put them on the TVA's thing, but who knows?
Yeah.
Another one here, someone says, honestly, X-Men will make a good venue to do that in the big picture with your idea about the different views. And then someone goes, don't like it. So I don't know. Or I don't know if this is Mobius or what you said, Andy. I don't know what this means. I just said don't like it. This could be Owen Wilson, you're casting, or what you said. I don't know, but they don't like something.
Okay.
Okay, here you go. Especially if you made a show from the view of different members of the Brotherhood and X-Men with different episodes. That would be a great thing to do.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, it was Mobius that I didn't like. It won't be Mobius, so that's why I don't like the idea. Continuity issues, yep. But yeah, you could do that with the Brotherhood, and you could do that with the X-Men, because think about it, all Magneto wanted was like freedom, be left alone, not for them to be persecuted like he was as a child and what he went through. And so yeah, that would be a good one.
Cool.
Confirmation here. Yep, I meant Owen. So there you go. Not your idea. It's Owen Wilson being in this movie. Moving on. Guardians of the Galaxy 3. We're almost done, Rob. So we're almost done here. Guardians of the Galaxy 3. James Gunn confirmed via Twitter there are human animals in the movie. High Evolutionaries evolve citizens of Counter-Earth from the comics in the MCU. So when we see them land in that Earth-like place, that is Counter-Earth with the human animals. Now, my question is this how we get Squirrel Girl in the MCU? Because Squirrel Girl does have ties to human animals, the whole storyline with that, with her and human animals and that kind of stuff. So could we see Squirrel Girl cameo in this movie? And this is how we get Squirrel Girl in the MCU?
Maybe end credits.
Yeah.
So
that'd be cool. Yeah.
Like a bit of Squirrel Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe Russo was interviewed and he had some things to say. There's some Marvel news here and some Batman news here. We'll start with hold on, let me look at this about Guardians of the Galaxy 3. My only concern is looking at the posters, they look so ugly. I think that might be the point though too. For them looking ugly.
Which one? The Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, the human animals, which yeah, I guess they didn't want to go like sweet tooth, like with those human animals. So I guess make them ugly kind of maybe the point. Another thing here before I go into the Russos, still want Anna Kendrick for that. That's probably a long shot. They actually made a series with the AT&T woman. I can't remember her name at the top of my head, but Hulu had a series of New Warriors. And she was the lead for Squirrel Girl. She also voices Squirrel Girl on the Marvel podcast as well. I can't remember her name, but she has AT&T commercials.
Okay.
But yeah, she was part of that for the scrapped New Warriors project on Hulu. So if there was a Squirrel Girl and they did someone, she could be the one they do it with, or they could pick someone totally out of the blue. I meant the posters in general, not the human animals. About they look ugly. Yeah. Okay. That's fair. So Joe Russo talked about Phase 5 and Multiverse Saga. I think the type of story that unfolded in the phases that we worked on was a very specific kind of story that wrapped itself up in those phases, and now it's time for a new story. And I think that's the direction that Marvel's headed in. They're telling you a very different story, a very new story, and I think the audience just needs to be patient with the redirection, because you can't keep telling the same story over and over. You lose the audience. So
yeah, he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we was going back on earlier about the Rey and the Star Wars stuff. Like, is it going to be another Sith? And it's like, is it going to be another?
It
do you know
needs
what I mean?
to be new and fresh. Can't do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If they do Jedi versus Mandos, that'd be a great one.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. He also talked about on why Marvel's current approach to storytelling is a huge win. He said, I think they're taking some very big swings and they're playing around with the tone and they're championing diversity as much as anyone in the storytelling space right now. And all those things are huge wins for large scale storytelling. And speaking of the Russos, comment here. Someone goes, you're right. I forgot about the AT&T girl. But the next one goes, just give us the Russos back for Secret Wars, please. Which that might not be happening because they have their own production company now. And leads to my next thing I'm going to talk about. They'll do good with Batman for DC. So my next comment here is Joe Russo says Russo Bros would love to tackle a Batman solo movie. Obviously, James over there running it would be a no-brainer. We love him to death. We love the direction he's going to take that world in. You know he's going to be inventive with it. And favorite DC characters, I mean, man, there's so many good ones. I always answer based on comics I collected as a kid. And the 2 comics I collected the most were Spider-Man, actually 3. Were Spider-Man, X-Men, and Batman. But there have been a lot of iterations of Batman, so I feel like that's an obvious answer. Now, he mentions X-Men. The Russos doing an X-Men movie will be interesting too as well, I think. I think they could do a really good X-Men movie also. Or one of the projects for X-Men.
Yeah, I agree. I think X-Men is a big ensemble type situation, isn't it? And I think that's what they're very, very good at. So, and that's what kind of makes me think, don't get me wrong, I think they're great, and I think they probably would do great with a Batman movie, but Batman's very much a solo outing, isn't it? Even there might be more characters in a Batman. I'm not saying it's just Batman in the movie. There's obviously more characters in the movie, but it is just centered around Batman. And even if they're going to do The Brave and the Bold, which is about his son, isn't it? I think it's about Damon Wayans. It's still only 2 characters. And, you know, you look at what the Russos did with certainly Civil War and Infinity War and Endgame, these big ensemble cast managing to give everybody enough exposure and enough depth and enough growth.
That's it, yeah.
Do they need to do Batman? But is that their speciality? I don't know. Could a Justice League or an X-Men or a JSA or, you know, I don't know.
Sinister Six movie even for Spider-Man. Because they mentioned Spider-Man, do a Sinister Six movie from their viewpoint, like you were saying.
That'd be good.
Yeah. From the chat here, I like diversity, but also a fan of making new characters instead of race swapping any character they can.
Whew, that's a big comment. We'll come to that one later.
It gives more room for more lore and more range for heroes or villains people can connect with. Yep, and I think we're gonna have one of these to chat about that. I think we're still setting that whole. It's
coming.
Up. Yeah.
It's coming. One day that chat is gonna come. I promise you. We've got to get the right people on there, though.
Also, one more thing. It makes room for new characters for them to carry on their legacy. So, and some you do carry the legacy on, right? Like we'll say, I'll give you one example here. Miss Marvel, right? So you know, Carol Danvers was Miss Marvel. She became Captain Marvel, right? Miss Marvel, who is a big fan of hers, was like a huge fangirl of Carol Danvers, and Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel takes on the role. Then I think that's a good legacy there too, as well. It changes the character up, but it's a mantle thing, right? And we do have mantles, and mantles happen. They can change mantles out, so that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah.
Soapbox over. Anyways, yeah. But stay tuned for that one. We're still planning that episode to have that conversation. Actually, hold on. Here's a comment for you, Rob. I got to run, guys, but great show. Had fun. Thanks for coming on, Rob. Hope to see you back sometime. So definitely.
Sure.
Our last thing of the news here. Super Mario Bros. It's currently at 871 million worldwide. It's expected to cross 1 billion this week.
I'll tell you what, fair play to that movie.
Yeah.
Which movie, sorry? I missed that.
Super Mario Bros.
Oh, really? Oh, nice. I think I deserved it. I mean,
yeah.
We were saying.
Show you.
Look at that.
Nice.
Drinking out my Mary mug.
We were saying last week that it adheres to so many people. You know, Mario and Nintendo have been there through all of our, you know, our lives on here. You know, I mean, you've got to be 60 plus to have not played a Nintendo game, to be totally honest.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it was just a funny film. I loved all the callbacks, you know, references and everything. It was great. I loved it. I think it deserves all the praise game.
Lots of nostalgia in the movie, you know.
Yeah.
And we were talking before, they could make so many Nintendo games into movies or just games in general.
You watch
into movies.
There'll be a game verse. There'll be a Nintendo.
Yeah, just you wait. I mean, they've already done Sonic, now Mario. When the crossover.
What do they take? What do they take all the characters and do all these Nintendo movies, and then it comes down to a Super Smash Bros. Movie for like one big Avengers little
Yeah.
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 That'd be great.
That'd be kind of fun.
That'd be brilliant. They're all lined up. Charging,
Yeah.
Yeah.
charging at someone. Yeah.
It could almost be mocking, playfully mocking the MCU. It would be cool. Yeah.
That would be really cool, actually. That would be excellent, actually, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I think even Mario Kart would be fun, like a racer type Mario. If you want, that'd be kind of fun.
That would
Make Turbo from Wreck-It Ralph one of the evil racers in the film. That's kind of his backstory. Was he was in Mario and Mario Kart and got jaded, and that's how he got over to Wreck-It Ralph universe.
What they could do? Just thinking about this for a minute. Do you know what they could do? They could parody big movie franchises with those characters with their games. So, for example, they could use Mario Kart and parody Fast and Furious.
They
could use Donkey Kong and parody Godzilla or something like that. They could do these other movies and parody other big franchises that have come out, but within that sort of Mario world. That'd be really
I
great.
like that.
That'd be really cool. And can you imagine Super Mario and Mario and Luigi saying it's all about family? So they're in their little carts.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think that'd be quite funny. Okay, are we calling this a day one? This Jarian,
yeah, we're good.
Okay, fantastic. Look, Rob, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
You're very welcome, and it's been great to see your insight into Star Wars. We know you're a big, passionate fan about Star Wars, and you've got lots of knowledge there. And it's been brilliant having you on. We will have you on again, I'm sure, when Ahsoka starts, and there's more stuff to talk about there.
Looking forward to it.
That'd be great. Jarian, where can they find us?
Yeah, so the live stream, you can find us on Twitter. Although if you do watch on Twitter, we don't do the comics. So if you want to comment and be involved in the chat, make your way over to our Facebook page, one of our Facebook groups, YouTube, Trovo, or Twitch. And then you can also find us on Instagram as well. We post shorter content like our trailer stuff and things from the groups.
Fantastic. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. We'll catch you next time. Take care.
Have a good one.